What's up, everyone? I'm Joe Pompliano, and this is the Joe Pomp Show. I hope everyone's having a great week so far. Today's podcast is a special one because I got to sit down with Phil Mickelson in Palm Beach and talk about everything golf related. We talked about his move from the PGA Tour to LIV Golf. We talked about what LIV Golf has accomplished over the last few years, how the product has evolved, and what the future might look like. Phil also talked me through the reasoning behind now starting a YouTube channel, and he even gave me some health tips, as he is the only player in history to win a major championship after 50 years old. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode, so let's get right into it.
Let's start with the state of professional golf. It's been a couple of years now. If you had to kind of just put a grade or, analysis on where LIV is today compared to where you thought they would be or where you think they can be, what would you say?
I think that we're a lot further along than a lot of people thought. I think we're further along than maybe we even thought. But I actually think it's going to be a longer disruption period. So if you look at like the music industry, which went through this huge transition, and it was about a 10-year process, and when it ironed out and got through it all, meaning going from the Napster streaming and stealing stuff to where it is now, where the artists have a lot more control, a lot more possibilities, but yet you're still able to come in and help certain artists if you're a manager. They're at a place now where music is doing really well, and it kind of came up with it took a little while, but the solution now has been beneficial for everyone. And it's no longer just entirely controlled by the Sonys and the Universals and so forth. And so I think that golf is going to be in kind of a similar transition, is my guess. Yeah, we're maybe 3-4 years in, but it's going to take a little while for this partnership to work out. Obviously, it's taken a long time for them to come to agreement. I think it's going to take years to kind of play out until
Once an agreement is eventually. Yeah.
But in the but when it's all said and done, I think golf's going to be in a way better place because golf was really confined to the United States because of the control of the PGA Tour, and it wasn't being utilized globally, and they didn't have the resources and the ability to make it global. And because LIV has come in and changed the model entirely by paying for the player's schedule for 14 weeks. So we have 38 free weeks, but 14 they control. Sponsors know what they're buying. Television knows what they're buying. And they have the ability to move us throughout the world. Now it's a global sport, and we can go to different countries, use tourism budgets, which we've been doing, and start to promote the game on a more global scale. So when it's all said and done, let's say a 10-year process goes through, we'll have professional golf all throughout the world. If you're a professional golfer, you can live all throughout the world. You don't have to move to the United States like everybody did and has done for the last 50 years. So I think it's also going to have a lot of growth opportunity because the U.S. can only have so much growth. And you start to see some of the great play now coming from Asia. And then you start to see some great players starting to come from India. And your top players and best players in the world now are coming from everywhere. And having professional golf be promoted and pushed and travel throughout the world is going to continue that growth and that promotion. So I think when it's all said and done, golf will become an entirely more global sport and more successful and have a much bigger opportunity. But we're just in that transition stage.
Yeah, it feels more like the Formula One model, right? Where it's globally recognized sport. There's people living all over the world that compete in it. You're traveling to different areas. In a lot of cases, they're paying you to show up, so then you can go put on a tournament or a race in this instance. Is that kind of how you see it, more similar to that, rather than what professional golf has always been in the past?
Yeah, so the old model, I feel, is it was really capped. It really didn't have as much upside and was kind of maxed out, and it was very much domestic, just in the U.S. And if you live in the U.S., you thought that was great, but you didn't have this global view and perspective of things. And now, like you said, Formula One's a global sport, and people enjoy it and follow it all throughout the world, all throughout the year. I think golf is going to be a little bit more like that as well, and it'll start to include not just the majors, and it'll have big events throughout the world and have all the best players. And in the past model, you would pay certain players, a couple of them, to go play in other areas, but you didn't have all the best players. And I think that when it's all said and done, the model will be where all the best players are playing in way more often. Like when I played, we didn't have elevated events. We didn't have tournaments where really most of the best players played against each other. We had the majors and the players, and that was it. And we had some tournaments that had stronger fields than others, but now we're talking about having all the best players as a possibility. So when I hear people say, oh, we want all the best players back together, it hasn't been that way. Like, we haven't had that. So now we can, and it just is going to take a little time to get it ironed out.
What do you think about the economics of the teams, right? I ask this because I think a lot of people who maybe don't pay as much attention to the business side of golf look at the teams as just this camaraderie thing. And like, you guys are on a team, it's sort of like college golf. It's fun. But there's real economics behind these teams, right? You guys are building enterprise value for the teams. You're getting sponsors. They're eventually going to be worth potentially a lot of money, and people will want to buy into those teams. How do you foresee that whole process playing out?
It's playing out. I mean, it's actually happening. We're seeing a lot more sponsorships now starting this year. So
have you gotten offers to buy into your team?
So yes, but we're so young. Like, there's no intrinsic value that would make us want to sell. Right? We're not to the point where we want to sell. But we also have to go out and prove and build our brand and build our equity and so forth, and have sponsors, which we are starting to have now this year. So that's what's exciting, because when you start to see the teams be profitable and start to see the teams succeed and develop a connection with people, there's a lot of growth opportunity. Now, right now, the greatest connections are the teams that have kind of a logistics behind them, like the Rippers in Australia, the South African team, the Stingers, Torquay with South America, and and then you're starting to have like the Ironheads with more of kind of a Korea connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a logistical support, it makes it a little bit easier. But there's starting to be a little bit more identification with players. And I think the other...
So you think the location stuff is more helpful than just kind of like the branding of the team?
In building the team brand, I do, but I think the biggest aspect of like also growing that is the YouTube stuff. I think that is where a lot of the younger golfers and a lot of the younger generation are starting to interact. We're starting to make a push into that space, and Bryson's been the leader of it because he's shown what it can do and what the possibilities are. So the connection with the fans, the sponsorships of direct sales, whether it's QR codes or what have you, the tangible asset of knowing how often, how many people are watching, how often they're watching, that is allowing you to kind of like build content and build a connection with the fans, and specifically the younger generation.
Yeah.
And on the PGA Tour, our fan base was getting older and continues to get older. The average
is basically the oldest out of every major sports league
by far. It's like 65.
Yeah,
and you're gonna start losing those fans soon. You've got to be able to make a connection with the younger generation. And Liv's audience is about half that age, just over half that age. So we're starting to connect with a lot younger crowd. And
but on that, real quick, YouTube is sort of like a unique thing, right? You've been doing great at it. Bryson's doing great at it, and you guys are bringing in a lot of fans that are watching the content. But how do you get those people to go to the events, right? Because golf to me is like this interesting sport where it's grown tremendously at the amateur level from like a content perspective. But if you look at the PGA Tour's numbers specifically over the last number of years, a lot of it hasn't translated to viewership, even though you can see on YouTube, look, people love this content. They like when you're entertaining, when Bryson's entertaining. They want to connect with you guys. But how do you think about getting them to the course and like invested in the team?
So there's a lot of reasons why I believe LIV is going to be successful. But the number one reason would be something you wouldn't think, and that is this. It's how you feel, and this is where I'm going with this. When you can identify how if something is right for you or not based on how you feel. Am I anxious? Am I dreading something coming up, or am I looking forward to it and excited?
Yeah.
Okay. When you go to a PGA Tour event, it's very uncomfortable for a parent to bring a child because you have to be quiet. Oh, shh. Okay, don't move. Stop moving. And then now come over here. Come over here, son. Let's go get a view. And you're kind of hustling, and your kids are kind of tired. They're walking miles, right? The viewer, the golf fan is the most loyal fan, paying for a ticket, walking miles and seeing a fraction of the action, right? Yeah. It's not like other sports where you buy a seat and you get to see 100% of the action. You don't have to move. Okay, so we have a very loyal fan base. But when you're with your kids, it's very uncomfortable at a tour event because you have a 6-year-old or a young child, and you're like, don't talk right now. Okay, come over here. And
it's like almost not even worth bringing.
That's it. Now they've walked and they're tired and they don't have a place to go. Okay, you go to a LIV event, you feel different, and here's why. You have music going, so if you're out on the course, we don't hear little people saying stuff. We don't hear it. So you're not as anxious about having your kids be quiet. Oh, it's okay, come on. And then let's walk up here. And there's a fan zone like on the course where you can sit down, take a break, grab some drinks. It's like a little hang. You can take a nap. They have a kid zone by the clubhouse where, again, you can take a nap. You can sit down, play putt-putt and play games for them, entertain them with a big screen so you can still see what's going on the golf. So when you go there, you feel calm.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable, like, okay, our kids had a great time. I was relaxed. I wasn't so worried. I think that's the number one reason why LIV's going to be successful, because when you go experience it, you walk away feeling different. You walk away feeling like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Let's go back. And then when you go to a tour event, you're going to be like, okay, like that was great, but it does. You're tired. You're worn out. Okay, now not many people will articulate it, but they'll feel that, and then
They'll go back.
exactly.
Yeah, they'll go back. It's funny you say that. I had a friend who brought their 2-year-old child to an event in New Jersey, and they said the same thing. I mean, this kid, he swings a makeshift golf club all day long at the house, right? So he was super excited to go. But the parents even had fun. And to your point, I think at some other events, you're almost like dreading it because you know it's going to be a bad day, whereas this one you're excited because the kid's going to have a good time and so forth. I want to talk to you about health, though. You've done a lot of work on health, and you're very interested in keeping your body healthy and everything. I think, are you the only player ever to win a major over 50?
Yes.
That's impressive. What do you attribute that to? How have you been able to stay at the top of your game so long?
So I had to take accountability for my own health, which I never did until I was 40, got psoriatic arthritis, and really got scared into taking accountability and starting to learn about what other things I can do to get out of it. So now I've been off of all meds for many, many years and don't have it anymore. It's back in remission, and all because I've been able to eat properly and get my immune system balanced and be accountable for my own health. So things that I eat, I started a coffee company. Coffee actually saved my life or changed my life, or because when I got psoriatic arthritis and I went to the like a health practitioner, he said, your immune system is out of balance. You have too much Th1 cells. You need more Th2. Stop taking echinacea and other things and start drinking coffee, because that will raise those immune cells. And grape seed extract, resveratrol, and green tea as well. So I started doing all that, and it kind of changed my life. And then I started reading up about it. And I started reading about other foods and other things that can help your body heal and recover and all this stuff. So I look at that as a big part of being able to elongate your career. Golf's a sport of a lifetime. And I also been fortunate not to have really injuries, because my swing is a little bit different than what's being taught now, which is much more violent a movement. Mine's longer, freer flowing, and so I've been able to have a longer injury-free career. But I've also had to be accountable for my own health to be able to recover and be able to play and compete.
My last question for you, and this is on more of a personal level, right, is like you were sort of one of the people that led the charge on a lot of this stuff, right? Changing golf, doing things better for the fans, really taking a stance on that. How do you think that has impacted people's perception of you? Have you felt that over the years? And do you have any regrets or things you wish you would have done more of, or taken more action, or been quicker to do things?
When it's all said and done, like I say, in 10 years, there'll be much more autonomy in all the things that have been taking place in my career. And I don't want to dwell on a lot of the negatives, but those things are going to be changed and fixed. And as golf becomes global and starts going into these digital realms and medias and YouTube and these other opportunities, they're starting to get more ownership, more control, and not really be as taken advantage of. Now, do the fans care about that stuff? No, of course not. Like, this is not their business. That's not what they do. But we're in that struggle right now, just like anybody else would be in their own job and their own work.
Well, it's funny because a lot of leagues have taken a different approach, and I would argue that it's been really helpful. If you think about the NBA, a lot of people don't know this, but when YouTube first started, people were just clipping NBA highlights nonstop, and they were just putting them on YouTube. And the attorneys for the NBA went to Adam Silver, who was the deputy commissioner at the time, and said, we need to go sue YouTube, right? This is copyright infringement. They can't be using this stuff. And Adam Silver said, people seem to be loving it, right? Like, they're watching the clips. If this is where the fans are going to be, we need to do that too. And I think this is sort of a similar approach where the media rights, when you allow people to do things with them, end up making the sport more popular rather than cutting off. Like, I know there's a bunch of creators who want to use content from different tournaments and stuff like that and haven't been allowed to do that. So have you run into any of these things with LIV? Like, not problems, but like, have any sponsors tried to use clips in the past, and like, how would that process be different?
So our overall philosophy is much more like Adam Silver's,
Yeah.
because we are being pushed and asked to promote our events, to use social media to create a connection with a fan, to shoot content during the weeks of the tournament, and push our channels and drive people to our sites, and we're able to use our own content. And that's the other model, the 180 degree difference, is what the tour is doing. You're not allowed to use content shot on site at all. They own all of that. The players aren't, until recently, until LIV came, they weren't even able to post pictures or shots of themselves on their own channels. I know that I had to, when I started that match, as an equity owner, we had to pay the tour $1 million for my own media rights. Which was really upsetting. I had to do that 5 times, and they'll argue, well, you didn't pay directly. It came from so and so's budget. It says, but no, I was the start. I started this. I owned it, and I had to pay you out of the budget. Like so that
You're talking about like the 2-on-2,
the match when I played Tiger in that match, starting there, and I ended up doing expanded. 4 more. Yeah. I had to pay him when I was commentator. So there was this, whereas LIV has the exact opposite of like, look, let's use this as an opportunity to promote. Yeah, you're promoting your channels and so forth, but that's promoting LIV, and so get out there and do it. Whereas, and they're wanting us to do it. They're wanting us to shoot stuff on the course. They're helping us. Look, if we need access to the golf course, we shot a match last year at one of the sites. They're like, yeah, we'll close the course down for 9, go shoot that and get it done. So they're helping us create that content on site, and which helps us as players, because we're able to do things with each other as a team, which is inherently more content than just one individual. So now we have team dynamic and behind the scenes and things we're doing in the off season, all these things that are interesting, that create interest. The LIV is helping support that and push it and accommodate it as much as they can. Totally opposite than what, which is why you don't see anybody else on the tour trying to really do able to do what we've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like maybe there's a little bit of softening, but there's still a lot of way to go. But we'll see how it goes over the next few years. But I appreciate your time, Phil. Thanks so much, and I really appreciate how thoughtful you are about some of this stuff. So good luck this year.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.